Good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chitas, today is Friday, and we go to the Chitas of today, the sixth part of the portion of Vayechi. And tomorrow in Midshem we finish the book of Genesis and the portion of Vayechi. So we're holding on chapter 49 in Genesis, verse number 27. We are in the middle of the blessings of Jacob to his sons, Binyamin, to his last child, Binyamin, his youngest child. He tells him, Binyamin Ze'ev Yitraf. Binyamin is a wolf. He will prey. In the morning, he will devour, plunder. And in the evening, he'll divide his spoil. So Rashi says he's a wolf, for he will prey. Jacob prophesied that there will be destined to be grabbers, and they shall grab for yourself each man's wife. In the episode of the concubine, which happened to be in Gibah, this is a story that happened many, many years later, and he prophesied that Shaul that will be victorious over his enemies all around. As it said, and Shaul took the kingdom, and he waged war. Shaul also came from the tribe of Benjamin against Moab, and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom. And whenever he turned, he caused them to tremble. So he prophesies in the kingdom, the prophesies of the kingdom of Shaul. In the morning, he will devour plunder. Ad is an expression of plunder and spoils, and it's translated into Aramaic as ada'ah. There's another example of this in Hebrew. They plundered the booty, ad shalal. So this is Jacob is referring to Shaul HaMelech, who rose at the beginning of the morning and sunrise of Israel. He was the first king of the Jewish people in the land of Israel. Well, Erev Yechalek Shalal. So Rashi says this is even when the sun will set for Israel through Nebuchadnezzar, who will exile them to Babylon. He, Benjamin, will divide the spoil. Who is that? Mordechai and Esther. Mordechai was from the tribe of Benjamin, who were of the tribe of Benjamin, will divide the spoils of Haman. And it said, behold, the house of Haman was given to Esther. So we see that he prophesies over here the story of Purim. Uncle Sarah renders it regarding to the spoils of the priest, meaning the holy things of the temple, namely the priest's share of sacrifice. So Uncle is translate the concept of this verse. And so he ended the blessings of his sons. Kalela Shifti Yisrael, these are all the 12 tribes of the Jewish people. Shnei Masar, there were 12. And this is what their father spoke to them. And he blessed them. He blessed each one according to his blessing. Zashi says, and this is what their father spoke to them and blessed them. Now, it is not that some of them he did not bless, for in fact, he chided. Rather, this is what he intended. And this is what their father spoke to them, what is related to this section. One might think that he did not bless Reuven and Shimon and Levi. Therefore, the scriptures say he blessed them, meaning all of them. So even their rebuke was a blessing. Isha with a blessing destined to befall each of them. Scripture should have said each man according to his blessing he blessed them. Why does scripture say he blessed them? Since he, Jacob, bestowed upon Judah the might of a lion, and upon Benjamin the power to seize as a wolf, and upon Naphtali the fleetness of a gazelle. I might think that he did not include them in all the blessings. Therefore, scripture says, no, he blessed them all. He blessed them equally all, even though he gave each one a different concept. Verse 29. And he commanded them, and he told them, Ani nesef alami, I'm returning to my people. I want you to bury me with my fathers in the field of Ephraim the Chiti. So Rashi says, Nesef, the term Nesef is utilized because it brought souls into the place where they are concealed. There's an instance of Asifa in Hebrew, a gathering, meaning Ma'asif, coming home, shall take into your home. So he says, I'm going home. I'm coming home. I'm going home to my fathers, which is Gan Eden. Elavoisai, to my fathers, which means with my fathers. Not to my fathers, with my fathers. Verse 30. In the cave, Asher is there Machpelah, which is in the field of Machpelah. Asher Pnei Mamre, which is before in the city of Mamre, Be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. Asher Kon Avram, which Avram bought as Hadolim Ephron Achiti, which Avram bought the field from Ephron Achiti, Lachuzas Kever, for a burial plot. Shamakom is Avram, there they buried Abraham. Shamakom is Yitzhak as Rivka, Ishtay. There they buried Yitzhak and Rivka, and there I already buried Leah. Leah was not alive at this time. Verse 32. The purchase of the field and the cave therein from the sons of Ches. Verse 33. Yaakov is born of Yaakov, concluding, commanding his sons. By Yosef Ragal Amita, he drew his feet, his legs, into the bed. By Yigva, by Yosef Alamai, and he expired, and he's brought to his people. So Rashi said, by Yosef Ragal, Hichnes is Ragal, he drew his legs. By Yigva, by Yosef. So Rashi says, it's interesting over here, we don't say Misa Nemabay. It doesn't say that he died. By Yitzhak it says he died. By Abraham it says he died. It doesn't say that Yaakov Avinu died. It says he expired, doesn't it? It doesn't say the Misa by Yaakov. Muhammad Abisenu, Yaakov Avinu loy meis. And our sages said, Yaakov never died. There's a beautiful Gemara on that. Chapter 50, verse number 1. And Yosef fell upon the face of his father, and he wept and he kissed him. And the Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, the physician emblem his father. So Rashi says this involves compounding aromatic spices. It's not what today they do. They take the blood out, God forbid. Then they used to surround the body in oils and spices. Verse number 3. And 40 days were completed. These were the days that they did the Yifkois to Mitzrayim, and they cried in Egypt Shivim Yom for 70 days. So Rashi says they completed the days, and 30 days. That was a 40-day process. Yifkois to Mitzrayim, 40 days to lemon, and 30 for weeping, because a blessing had come to them when Jacob arrived. The famine ended and the waters of the Nile increased. So therefore, the whole Egypt was totally sad for the passing of Jacob. Verse number 4. And these 70 days of weeping had passed. And Yosef spoke to the house of Pharaoh. And he said, if I find pleasing in your eyes, speak it to the ears of Pharaoh, saying, verse 5, my father made me make a vow, saying, I'm going to die in the grave, which I dug in the land of Canaan, Shama Tibkoreini, there you shall bury me. V'ata Elana ve'ekmes avi v'shuvo, and let me go up to Canaan, and I will return. So now she says, according to the simple meaning, it's similar to if a man digs. The Medrash interprets it also fits as a language text here, which I bought. Kiva said, when I went to some cities by the sea, they called selling, the concept of selling, they bought it kariti, that he dug. Similarly, it may be used for buying. Another Medrash interpretation, the term derived from kri, a stack, meaning that Jacob took all the silver and gold that he had brought from Lavan's house, and he made it into a stack. And he told Esav, take this for your share in the cave of the Machpelah. And he took it. So he bought it. He bought the Machpelah again from Esav. Verse 6. This is a famous story that happened that Esav tried to stop the burial because he said, it still belongs to me. And they said, no, that Jacob sold it. And he asked for the document of sale. And they left in Egypt, and they had to run back. Naphtali ran back, but in between then, the son of the deaf son of Dan killed him, Esav. So Pharaoh said, "Go up and bury your father, like he promised." Now she says, "But were it not for the oath, I would not permit you to go." Pharaoh was afraid to tell Joseph transgress an oath. However, he at least say, if so, I will transgress the oath that I swore to you, that I will not reveal that I understand the holy tongue. Because the Pharaoh had to be greater than Joseph. And one of the things the Pharaoh was not greater than Joseph was that Joseph knew 70 languages. And the Pharaoh didn't know Hebrew. So the Pharaoh made Joseph make a vow that he would never tell anybody that the Pharaoh doesn't know Hebrew. So it would look that he's less smarter than Joseph. So he said, listen, you made an oath to me and I kept it. So I'll let you keep the oath with your father. That's what he says. Go according to the oath. If it wasn't for the oath, I wouldn't let you go. Verse number 7. So Joseph went up to bury his father. And all the servants of Pharaoh went up with him. The elders of the land of Egypt. All the elders of Egypt. Verse 8. And all the entire household of his brothers and his father's household. Besides the children and the flock of Bekorim, their cattle, Azu be'eretz Goshen. They left in the land of Goshen. Verse number 9. And the chariots and the horsemen also went up with him, and there was a camp, was very numerous. This was a very big entourage that was going up to Egypt with Jacob to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. Verse number 10, they came to the threshing floor of the thunder bush, which is the other side of the Jordan. They conducted their great and impressive eulogy. Covered mode, very big. They made it a mourning of 7 days. So now she says it was surrounded by thunder bush. Our rabbis have interpreted as it called a threshing floor of the thunder bush. To commemorate the event, all the people of Canaan and the prince of Ishmael came to fight a war. When they saw Joseph's crown hanging on Jacob's coffin, they all stood up, hung their crowns, their own crowns, and was surrounded with their crowns, like a threshing floor surrounded by fences and thorns. That's what the meaning the Gemara says. All the kings came and put their crowns around the camp, around Jacob's bed. Verse 11. And all the people of Canaan saw the mourning and the threshing floor of the thunder bushes. Abel covered El Mitzrayim. They said, "Wow, this is an intense morning for Egypt." That's what they called the place, the Egyptian mourners, on the other side of the Jordan. Verse 12, and his sons did to him as he commanded them. So Rashi says, what was he commanded them? Verse 13, and his sons brought him to the land of Canaan. They buried him, they buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah. Which Avraham Avinu bought this land for a place of burial, for Ephron the Chiti, al Pnei Mamre, on the plains of Mamre. Vayisa Banav, V'lei Bnei Banav, but not his grandsons. So he had commanded them, neither shall any Egypt carry my coffin, nor any of your sons, for they are born in the daughters of Canaan, but you only my sons. He designated a position for them by his coffin, so that the three of them would carry on the east, and so on for all four directions. He told them exactly who should be in the east side, who should be in the west side, who should be on the north side, who should be in the south side. This is similar to the arrangements in the traveling in the camp in the desert of the grouping of the tribes, and they're designated there. You'll see later when the Jewish people journeyed in the desert, it's exactly the way these 12 tribes journeyed with their father's coffin. He also ordered that Levi should not carry it because he was destined to carry the ark. Joseph shall not carry because he's a king. And Manasseh and Ephraim shall carry it instead of them, instead of Joseph and Levi. This is the meaning, each one according to his group with signs, according to the sign that their father gave them to carry the coffin. Verse 14. And then Yosef came back to Egypt, him and his brothers, all those that went with him to bury his father after they buried his father. So Rashi says, here's when they returned. Scripture places his brothers before the Egyptians had gone upon him. Where when they left, Scripture places the Egyptians before his brothers. As it says, and all Pharaoh and his servants went up with him. And afterwards, Joseph's entire household and his brothers, but because the Egyptians saw the honor the kings of Canaan had bestowed, they all hung their crowns on Joseph's corson. They treated them with respect. That was the only time they treated Jewish people with respect. Verse 15. And Joseph's brothers saw the father had died. And they said, perhaps Joseph will hate us. And he'll do evil that we did to him. Maybe now the father is dead. Now Joseph will take revenge. What is it meant? They saw, they recognized Jacob's death in Joseph, for they were accustomed to dine with Joseph's table, and he was friendly towards them, out of respect to his father. But as soon as Jacob died, he went into a little bit of depression. So Rashi says the word lu has a different meaning. Lu is used as an expression of request to relate if only it would be to say. So they said, Lu is still main. I hope that this is not going to happen. Verse 16. So they made a command. They made a statement. They sent them a statement to Joseph. So Rashi explains it's a command. They commanded somebody to tell Joseph. They altered the fact that for the sake of peace, Jacob gave no such command. They said this is what their father commanded before he died. This is what you should tell Joseph. They said in the name of the father. Ana son of Peshachicha, forgive your brother's transgressions, the Chatasam and their sins. Kiragamulcha, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the transgression of your servant of God, your father. And Joseph cried when he heard this message. So Rashi says, although your father is dead, his God is alive, and they are his servants. Vayechu Gam Echav, and his brothers also went and fell before him. They said, well, behold, we're going to be slaves to you. And Rashi says, in addition to the messenger, they came afterwards and they fell in front of Joseph. And Joseph said to them, Altida, do not be afraid. Am I instead of God? So Rashi says, perhaps in his place, the prefix hey donates wonder, if I wanted to harm you, would I be able? Did not all your plan of evil against me, the Holy One, blessed be he, however, designated for good? So how can I alone harm you? Indeed, you intended evil against me. But God designated it for good. In order to bring about what at present, to keep a great populous nation alive. So here again, Joseph cries and says, you don't know, I'm a Jew that believes in divine providence, everything comes from God. How can you even think that I will do something against you? That finishes the Chumash of today. And today's Tanya, we continue in chapter 12. In the explanation, the Alter Rebbe starts, and he lays the foundation to the concept of a Beinoni, which, as the Alter Rebbe will say, is something that every person needs to strive to be, and that is a Beinoni. So the Alter Rebbe says that when a Beinoni has an evil inclination, and when he awakens his godly soul and puts his evil inclination to sleep, so to say, is only in a time of prayer, when God gave him the capability to have the greatness of in meditation when he goes to pray, and by his greatness of meditation he wakens up a great love of God, and that puts away his animalistic soul. But what happens is, the second he finishes davening, goes out into the world, his animalistic soul becomes alive and well. And his animalistic soul goes out to war with his godly soul. And he wants to have all the desires of the world. And he wants to have, even God forbid, ultimately even to want to do a sin. However, the impression retained in his mind from his meditation during prayer on the greatness of God, and the natural love and fear of God hidden in his right part of his heart, enable him, this gives him the capability to prevail and dominate the evil of the animal soul's craving. Not giving the animal soul the capability to gain supremacy and dominion over the city of the body. To carry out its craving. Now this is the line. From potential to actual. That means there's always a potential to do evil. There's always a potential to fall into one's cravings or one's negativity, because he has an animal soul. He doesn't let potential into actual. That's the trick of a Beinoni. Never allowing the potential into an actual. Very important. So therefore, the Beinoni will always have potential. That's why the Beinoni will always have the struggle, because there's always the potential of the Beinoni to do something negative. But he doesn't allow the potential into a reality. That's the power of Beinoni. The slavish gruf, to clothe itself in the limbs of the body. Even in his mind, to sinful have thoughts. The evil does not have the power to think thoughtful consciously. That means that naturally he might have an evil thought going to come to his mind. He's automatically going to push it away. He's not going to consciously think evil. He's not going to consciously look at something negative. He'll see something because that's what his eyes does. His eye sees. He'll right away move away from it. Meaning to cause his mind to accept willfully. His mind says, okay, since I already saw it, since I already heard it, since I already did, let me think about it. No, he pushes away right away. This evil thought that rises on its own accord, because that's because it's going to rise on it naturally. Since he has an animalistic soul in his heart, it's going to arise naturally, this thought. But he pushes instead immediately upon the thought rising to the mind. He, the Beinoni, he thrusts it away with both hands, and he averts his mind. The instant he realizes that's an evil thought, he will refuse to accept it even as a subject for mere conscious thought, and will certainly not entertain the notion of acting on it, God forbid, and even speaking of it. Because he who willfully indulges in the thoughts is deemed a rasha at that moment. So that's the trick. Not that you're going to have an evil thought. That's your nature. That's out of your control. Because you have an animalistic soul that's going to want you to think, but it's not going to be willfully. The second that thought's going to come to your mind, you're going to push it away. The second you look at something that you shouldn't be looking, that's what we say in the Shema. Don't turn, don't look, don't follow your eyes. The second your eyes see something that it shouldn't see, move it away, cover your eyes. Move your eyes away from it. Cover your lids of your eyes. Because the second he does it willfully, that's wicked. That he has the natural desire, that's his animalistic soul. That he does it willfully, then he becomes a wicked entity. So that's the jump. And it's a very fast jump from a natural instinct to a willful instinct. And that's where the Beinoni has to continuously be ready to not allow the natural instinct to turn into a willful instinct, a willful desire. Beinoni ain't a rasha, and a Beinoni is not wicked even for a single moment. So the Beinoni always has mind over matter. That's the meaning of mind over matter. Matter is the heart that desires. It will always come up the desire, and the mind says, no. I know you want it. I know you desire it. I know you have the capability of thinking, but I am not interested. So too between man and his fellow man. Speech. When a second a person thinks it's like, I'm going to say something negative to somebody, he has that desire for whatever reason. He has the desire to say something to somebody. He says no. He has comes to his mind any animosity or hate, God forbid. Or any jealousy or anger or a grudge or the like. Second it comes to his mind, so I'm going to tell this guy something. I'm going to tell somebody else. I'm going to tell somebody else about him. He stops it. No. He says no. I know I have the desire to say this lashon hara. I know I have a desire to say something to him also. No, I'm not going to do that. On the contrary, his mind will prevail over a dominion of his feelings, of his heart, and do the exact opposite. Lahanik, this Alter Rebbe is going to bring Yosef, the story of Yosef, today's chitas, in the chitas of the Tanya. Here, the chitas of the Tanya goes together with the chitas of the Chumash. Namely, to conduct itself to his fellow with the quality of kindness. You say the v'chiba daslei. So that's the trick. The second you think negative about somebody else, start thinking positive about him. The second you want to say something negative about to somebody else, start saying something nice to him. Lizba min akte achre. Display towards fellow a disproportionate love in suffering from him to the first extreme, even though it's painful. Even though you this guy, why would I be nice to him? He was not nice to me. No, without any provoke of anger, God forbid, or to take revenge. That's an action. Take revenge, God forbid. But on the contrary, to pay an offender with a favor. And where do we learn that from? As the Zohar says, where do we learn such a thing? To repay somebody's negative with positive? May Yosef imachav, for Yosef and his brothers. Yosef says, you think I'm going to pay you back negative because of your negative? No, I believe in God. And even though you've done negative to me, I'm going to repay you with positive. I'm going to support you. I'm going to help you. They couldn't even imagine that Yosef would be such a tzaddik. But that was Yosef, and we should all, the Zohar says, we should all learn from Yosef to return a negative with a favor. And that ends the chitas, the Tanya of today. Today is the 17th day of the month. In Tehillim is 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. So 83, 84, 85, 86, 87 is the Tehillim of today. God bless you, everybody. Have a wonderful and beautiful Shabbos. Happy New Year. January 1st, 12th. Hope that 2021 will be a better, happier, and healthier year. Have a wonderful Shabbos, everybody. God bless you all. It's a pleasure to learn with you. And next week, Sunday, we start the Chumash of Shemais, the book of Exodus, and we go into a whole new book of the Torah. Chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek. May we all go from strength to strength and have a beautiful Shabbos.
You too, Rabbi. Thank you.